Ask Me Singing with Mike. I have trouble hearing compression. Can you give me advice on what to listen for? This is always a difficult one because I think it takes time to, and in the process of really using compression a lot, to understand more about what it sounds like. And the thing is that when you listen to something, the first thing, if you're just going about the process of applying compression, the first thing you have to do is to figure out why you're compressing whatever it is that you're compressing, and then you could decide what compressor to use and how to approach it. Okay. So I'm kind of starting backwards here in terms of being able to hear it, because in some ways, in order to hear compression, you kind of have to use it and get used to using it in order to understand what it does. So for example, if you're just trying to smooth out a performance, then that would be more of a form of transparent compression, which you really wouldn't hear. And the idea was to take low parts in a performance and bring them up overall, high parts in a performance and bring them down overall. So it's more or less an averaging kind of compression that's meant to be a bit transparent. Then there is a pumping and breathing type of compression, and that is the two easiest ones to hear are the limiting compression, where you just have this brick wall, it just hits it and nothing further goes. And it sounds like the music is being thrown at you up against a big piece of glass, sort of like when you go to the zoo and the lion or whatever it is leaps at the glass and just hits the glass and bounces off, and it still scares the crap out of you, but or your kid or whoever is with you, but it never hits you. And that's sort of what a compressor does. It's sort of like a sound comes up, but it never quite gets to you. It stops, and there's something that holds it back. That's the kind of like the way that you could just best describe it. And then the pumping and breathing is all about movement. And that's mostly the way compression is used in terms of making something dynamically alive sounding. It's the movement of the gain structure and the compression that makes it sound really alive. That's when people say, oh, you have to compress something because that's how you make it sound really exciting. Well, the excitement comes from the movement in the compression. And then even in compression, the release time is slower and more subtle, right? Because you're evening out a performance. And so you're preserving somewhat of the natural dynamic, just averaging it. But when it pumps and breathes, you get this dynamic front-back movement, right, that adds depth to the sound, okay? And that's that form of compression. And that's probably the easiest of them to hear, okay? So anyway, there's some quick advice on, what to listen for in terms of hearing compression. And, if you go to, some of the mixing workshops where I get really in depth in terms of how you use compressors, then you'll start to be able to hear it better the more that you actually use it. All right, there's my advice there.